and welcome. It is time once again for CU Immigration here on WRFU LP, Urbana, 104.5 FM. I will be your host for this evening. My name is Mr. Garza, and I am here to let you know that WRFU is an open forum for the Urbana-Champaign community. Views expressed are those of the speakers and are not intended to represent WRFU, UCIMC, Urbana Socialist Forum, or, as we like to say on the televised version of the show, UPTV. These views are our own, and by our in this instance, if not in any other, I mean myself. Just me, myself, and I. And yes, I know, before you say it, don't even say it. Don't even think it. I know I said I wasn't going to record just myself talking on this show and broadcast it on the UPTV thing because nobody wants to sit there and watch me talk into a microphone for an hour by myself. But it's really hard to get guests at this time of year, as you might imagine. Just about everybody in this town, well, no, that's a wild exaggeration. Many people in this town, many people that I know and deal with regularly, are in some way affiliated with or affected by the university, and they're all really busy right now. They're all going, getting ready to graduate and do all sorts of different things, and so they're busy. They can't come here and sit here and talk for an hour. Me, I can come here and sit here and talk for an hour because I have this section of my day kind of carved out for this purpose. And so, yeah, so you get me. Sorry, just me talking. If you're watching this and you're like going, oh no, not that guy again. Well, this would be a good time to change the channel and, find something else to watch, because it's just going to be me for the next, well, if it's a TV version, the next half hour. And then next week, the next half hour too. So 2 weeks of me for a half an hour. If it's the radio, you get me for an hour all by myself. I am sorry. Unless someone just shows up and knocks on the window and says, hey, interview me, and then comes in which case, and I would not turn you down if you did that, as long as you seemed like a relatively, how can I put this, pleasant or interesting or safe or something like that type person. I think if you're looking wild-eyed and revolutionary, I might not let you in. I might just go shrug and wave my hands and go, can't, I don't know, I'm on the air, sorry. I don't know. But if you appear to be a relatively level-headed, reasonable-looking person, preferably someone I already know or have seen before, and you want to be on the radio, you've got 56 minutes left to rush down here, plop yourself in the chair, and be interviewed. But since it's pretty unlikely that you're going to do that, my guess is that you're sitting there going, I'm awfully comfortable right here in my chair or on my couch or wherever, in my car or whatever. I don't really feel like going all the way over there to the IMC just so this weird guy can blab at me for an hour and not let me get any 2 words in edgewise. So, if that's the case, fine. I'll talk without you. I don't need you. I can do the show by myself. And that's what I'm going to do. So, lovely day today. A little cloudy there for a bit, rainy there for a bit. It seemed like, we're going to be another rainy day. But no, it was pretty nice overall. And we always appreciate that here in central Illinois because we get a lot of not so nice weather. Is that a good way of putting it? We get some good weather here from time to time, and we get lots and lots of not so good weather here from time to time. for most of the time, for most of the time, however you want to put it. Anyway, gosh, sorry. Like I said, greetings and welcome. CU Immigration. It's a show about immigration. Yes, it is. Loosely affiliated with the CU Immigration Forum, in the sense that I often talk about the things we're doing or the things we're thinking about. But it's got its own independent streak, as I do. So it's not always connected to or revolving around the work of the Immigration Forum. Sometimes it's just about immigration generally, or it's just about the immigrants. Because I like to talk to immigrants. I like to talk about immigrants and immigration. And yeah. So is news good lately? Not really so very good. Well, let's start off with a bit of good news. How's that? We're going to start with that. So this is from patch.com. I'm not familiar with patch.com. But anyway, it's entitled Illinois Senate Passes Sanctuary State Proposal. How cool is that? And it goes as follows. The Illinois Senate passed a bill aimed at encouraging cooperation between undocumented immigrants and state law enforcement agencies while discouraging unwarranted cooperation between federal immigration. The Trust Act, sponsored by Senate President John Cullerton of Chicago, a Democrat, passed 31-21 Thursday and will be taken up by the House this week. Quote, if someone is going to be detained in Illinois, it should be because an actual crime has occurred, not because of how they look, what they believe, or what paperwork they may or may not have, said Cullerton. Senate proposal SB 31 would ban the detention of immigrants in local jails by federal authorities without criminal warrants, stop federal agents from arresting people inside state-funded school or healthcare facilities, and bar any local participating in a federal immigrant or religious registry. The bill would also strengthen legal protections for immigrant victims of crimes. Quote, this can be a life or death situation for many of our clients, said Nassau Gayton, interim director of the Chicago-based Mujeres Latinas en Acción. She said the bill offers peace of mind to immigrant survivors, particularly for those who are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. The bill would set up deadlines for law enforcement to fill out certification forms when requested by immigrant victims of violent crimes who cooperate with police. Victims need the forms to apply for certain visas. Those would be U&T visas. Approval rates for such in the Chicago area visas can vary between counties. Kane County approved 81%, 57 of 70. Cook County approved 332 of 422 requests it received, 76%. Lake County approved just 26 of 43 U visa certification requests, for around 60%. McHenry County approved 7 of 13 requests, just over half, according to 2015 records collected by WBEZ. Cullerton said passage of the bill sends the message that our immigrant neighbors are in fact part of our community and will hopefully enhance interaction between the immigrant community and state and local police to improve safety and the quality of life for all Illinoisans. Illinoisans. I've not never tried to use the word in that way. Anyway, the executive director of the National Immigrant Justice Center, Mary Meg McCarthy, said, all of our communities are safer when immigrants do not fear deportation if they interact with police. Those fears have grown under the Trump administration, creating a chilling effect, keeping undocumented people from reporting crimes and testifying in court, immigrant rights activists and Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx argued. In these uncertain times, we should do everything we can to assure people that we want them to feel welcome and safe in their surroundings and secure in going to the police when they have information about criminal activity, said Senate co-sponsor and gubernatorial candidate Daniel Biss, another Democrat from Evanston. Evanston has been a sanctuary city since 2008. We want our local police to do what they do best, to be our local police, not federal agents, Biss said. Currently, California, Colorado, Connecticut, New Mexico, and Rhode Island have restrictions on cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration agencies, according to data released by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. New York and Maryland are currently considering similar state-level changes. Such laws do not stop state and local cops from serving valid criminal warrants, supporters of the Illinois proposal said. Opponents of the bill argued sometimes national security exigencies require detention without a warrant for short periods of time, and there are other reasons to intervene other than a criminal investigation, according to the AP. During the debate over the bill, former law enforcement I'm not sure. I'm reading it how it's written, but I don't understand it. During the debate over the bill, former law enforcement Senator Tim Bivens described the proposal as a, quote, law to tell law enforcement not to enforce the law, end quote, according to the Chicago Tribune. Earlier this year, the Department of Human Services estimated the fiscal impact of the House version of the bill at $5 million, based on the current $1.9 million it spends helping immigrants navigate state benefits with the Immigrant Family Resource Program. The department is responsible for multilingual health care, education, and training, and said the cost could rise beyond its initial projection. The sheriffs take an oath of office to uphold the laws of the state and federal government as well as the Constitution, and that is exactly what they will do. No statute will keep sheriffs from cooperating with their fellow law enforcement partners at any level if it jeopardizes the public safety of our communities, Illinois Sheriff's Association President Doug Mayer of White County said in a statement. The bill now heads to the House, where it has been sponsored by Representative Chris Welsh of Chicago, another Democrat, and Representative Sam Yingling of Grayslake, yet another Democrat. The Campaign for a Welcoming Illinois, a coalition of groups supporting for the bill, said it intends to hold events throughout the coming weeks to lobby House members for the bill's passage. Support for the Trust Act continues to build. Our members and allies are doing amazing work educating legislators and other stakeholders about the importance of the Trust Act, said Lawrence Benito, Chief Executive Officer of Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, also known as ICER. He said the bill's supporters hope to have a copy on Governor Rauner's desk by the end of the month. The governor's office has yet to signal whether Rauner would veto the bill, saying only that he believes in comprehensive immigration reform. So, I think this is a great thing. So don't get me wrong. I wanted to start out with a positive story, and that is a positive story. I will point out, though, that a lot of immigrants are unfamiliar with the intricacies of government and the various departments of the government and how it all fits together and how it all works. So while this is a good thing, and I think it'll be helpful, there are still going to be a lot of people that are going to be afraid to talk to the police because they don't really know the difference between a local police officer, like somebody from your city cop, for example, and a federal officer from the government. And they may not even really understand that there is a difference. They may not have a sense of that difference, of the different authority that each group has. Because the thing is, the feds can come in and take people anywhere they are. So a fed, ICE could come here to the studio where I am right now and take me away and never say a word to any local police and be perfectly within their rights to do so. Now, they generally communicate with local law enforcement and let them know they're going to be in town and that they're going to be doing something and that sort of thing. I think that's kind of standard practice to do that, but it's not like they have to do that. So it's difficult, I think, for some people to understand the scope of certain jobs, to say, okay, the mayor does this job, the local chief of police does this job, the sheriff does this other job, local, small, regular on the street beat cops, or however you want to describe them, they have this job over here. The county prosecutor has this job. All those things. I would say that lots of, lifelong resident / citizens are equally vague about the varying duties, responsibilities, and authorities of all the different people who work for the government, in whatever capacity. So while this is a great step, and I fully endorse this, and I think it's a really good idea, I also don't think that it can by itself overcome the fear and doubt and consternation and confusion and all that kind of turmoil that afflicts a lot of immigrants these days with the Trump regime being in power, because they have basically poisoned the well, so to speak. I mean, they've come out and they've made such a grossly anti-immigrant, unfriendly, anti-bigoted, racist. I mean, there's all sorts of words you can put to it. But they've made such a loud noise about their intentions and their hate and their intent to lock people up and take them away and to criminalize them and all that people are just kind of generally afraid. I think I can say without fear of contradiction that there are a lot of people that to this day are afraid just to kind of walk the streets, and anybody that sort of looks American, looks like a U.S. citizen to them, has become sort of a something to be afraid of. So you've taken people who previously sort of invented this sense of fear and loathing towards the other, if you can call it that, and created a similar emotion in those very people. I mean, they forced it on them by being so hateful and being so suspicious and, speak English and all those different things that they do. They projected that hatred outwards, and they get some of it back, and there's no way to avoid it, really. I mean, you can't help being afraid of people that tell you they hate you. Basically, I mean, you can say, I'm not afraid of them, but on some level, you're going to be like, oh, you're at least nervous around them. You're at least cautious around them. You're at least aware. And, since there are so many people that are judging you by the way you look and deciding, oh, that person looks Muslim, or that person looks Mexican, or that person looks whatever, the same thing kind of holds true in reverse. And so it's very sad, but you can see how these divisions are created and how hard it is to heal them, just based around what's been happening here since last November, or long before that. During the entire run up to the election, there was a lot of that garbage being thrown around. So again, I think this is a great thing, but it can't, by virtue of just there being no way to get this across in a really effective manner, it can't undo all the damage that's been done. It can just help a little bit. And I guess anything that helps is good, but I wish it could do more. So speaking of such things, let's take a trip to Texas. And I know you're saying they're going, oh, no. I'd rather not. Let's not go there. Sorry, folks. We have to go to Texas because along the lines of that last story, Texas is taking a slightly different approach to the question. So here we have an article entitled SB 4 Takes Texas War with Austin Statewide. So Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, and slight editorial aside, I am telling you the political affiliation of these people because these things pretty much fall along party lines. And I'm not saying that you should hate Republicans or support all Democrats because of their position, but you need to be aware that if you're wondering who to support for whatever reason, people have self-segregated themselves into pro and anti-immigrant camps. And you need to know that, because if you're going to support someone and there's an R next to their name, you are supporting an anti-immigrant agenda. Even if that person claims to not be anti-immigrant themselves, they are part of a larger group that is clearly at this time anti-immigrant. And I don't see how anyone can reasonably support that party right now. I don't see how they can, because there's nobody in that party that is fighting hard enough against the rest of the party to make them worthy of support, in my opinion. Anyway, I'll begin again. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, wants to make it clear undocumented immigrants are not welcome in his state. On Sunday, while appearing on Facebook Live, Abbott signed SB 4, a controversial piece of legislation that penalizes law enforcement officials who refuse to cooperate with federal authorities on detaining and turning over undocumented immigrants. It will take effect on September 1st. The law, which is similar to Arizona's SB 1070, passed in 2010, also authorizes law enforcement to inquire about immigration status during any and all detentions. Refusing to comply with federal detainer requests is considered a Class A misdemeanor, punishable by either a $4,000 fine and or a year in prison upon the first offense, with a civil penalty resulting in a fine of $25,500 per day also possible, as well as removal from elected or appointed office. This is pretty serious. Texas's new legislation is in line with national efforts. Donald Trump's administration has made cracking down on immigration a key focus. In March, Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced a plan to deny sanctuary cities funding via grants by the Office of Justice Programs if they refuse to hand over undocumented immigrants to federal officials. But the effort was abruptly halted in April when a federal judge in San Francisco found it unconstitutional, dealing Trump another legislative blow. Texas is proof that efforts at the state level could succeed where federal endeavors have failed. In many ways, the Texas government has even been a step ahead of Trump when it comes to anti-immigrant sentiment. On a call with local advocates Monday, Mary Moreno, the communications director for the Texas Organizing Project, emphasized the Abbott administration's history of targeting undocumented immigrants. We were a precursor to Trump, she said. We had a Trump in office for 2 years now. This is what happens when you elect a bigot to power. Arguably, it is the state's capital that lies at the center of the debate in Texas. Located only a few hours from the border, Austin, situated in Travis County, is not officially a sanctuary city, though the definition of the term is vague. According to census estimates, around 35% of Austin's residents are Hispanic, and the city enjoys a vibrant culture influenced by that community. Raids and deportations were a fact of life under former President Barack Obama, and a sanctuary movement quickly cropped up in Austin in an effort to protect residents. Under Trump, that movement has seen new life, but pushback has been equally energized. Late last month, Austin Mayor Steve Adler, a Democrat, reached out to the Department of Justice for clarification about the designation. In response, he was told that the Trump administration did not consider either Austin or the larger Travis County area to be a sanctuary zone. But that narrative runs counter to the one currently playing out. In January, Abbott crossed swords with Travis County's new sheriff, Sally Hernandez, who followed Trump's inauguration with a declaration of her own. Honoring a promise she had made on the campaign trail, she vowed she would no longer honor jail detainer requests from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Quote, "We cannot afford to make our community less safe by driving people into the shadows," Hernandez said in a YouTube message. "As local law enforcement officers, we will not interrogate or arrest someone over an unrelated federal immigration matter if they are trying to report a crime." Abbott fired back at Hernandez while speaking later with, you guessed it, Fox News. "We are going to crack down on this and ban sanctuary cities in Texas," Abbott said at the time, adding that if Hernandez did not back down, the state would remove her from office. He also misrepresented her position, accusing Hernandez of giving harbor to those convicted of offenses like armed robbery. The sheriff's office has said it will comply with ICE requests for more serious offenses, namely murder and sexual assault. Well, Hernandez is still sheriff, but Austin has been singled out by Abbott's government. After sending a letter asking state agencies to list funds provided to Travis County, the state proceeded to block $1.5 million in grant money to the city, intended for crime victim services, as well as courts and various programs. Despite the cuts, Austin's leadership, including Adler, have stood by Hernandez. Travis County Judge Sarah Eckert also soundly condemned Abbott's actions, noting that targeting sanctuary policies would destroy the Texas economy. But Abbott remained undaunted. Now, with the passage of SB 4, other cities could be facing similar repercussions. This is a dark time for Texas. Xenophobia and racism have won the day, Moreno said, emphasizing the role white men had played in passing SB 4. She said that there would be a response at the ballot box, one that would directly impact Texas Republicans. Local law enforcement also expressed concern. Prior to the law's passage, Austin's interim police chief, Brian Manley, spoke about his qualms with SB 4 while ultimately agreeing to support it if signed. To have this immigration status be a question that is asked during the detention is not something that I support, said Manley at the time. Austin isn't the only city where SB 4 has gone over poorly. Police chiefs from several major Texas cities all advised against the law, and many have come out against it. In an open letter published by the Dallas Morning News, police chiefs from Dallas, Houston, Austin, Arlington, Fort Worth, and San Antonio, as well as the Texas Police Chiefs Association, slammed the state's efforts. Quote, "We officers work extremely hard to build and maintain trust, communication, and stronger relationships with minority communities through community-based policing and outreach programs," the letter reads. Broad rules, such as those imposed by SB 4, that push local law enforcement to take a more active role in immigration enforcement will further strain the relationship between local law enforcement and these diverse communities.